Hello and welcome to a member request review video. So these videos go live to the YouTube members and Patreon members first for about 6 months before being made available to everyone else. And if you are a member, either on YouTube or on Patreon, you can definitely reach out and I may pick your request for a review. So this is the very first one, and the suggestion given to me was to do a review on The Legend of Rockabye Point, released on the 11th of April 1955, released by the Walter Lantz studio and it's directed by the late great Tex Avery. Physical media-wise, it has been made available on a Woody Woodpecker DVD set, but clearly this is in need of a proper restoration, and hopefully that'll happen one day. At least for the 4 Tex Avery shorts. As for everything else from the Lantz studio, look, I think everything should be restored anyway. Yes, even the lousy 70s stuff that the Lantz studio pumped out, but in this case, especially with those 4 Averys, we definitely want to get those looking good, especially since we've been so spoiled by the MGM Tex Avery Blu-ray releases. But at least we have a reasonable copy, and it's not too bad, and it's certainly watchable. It is under copyright. I'm not sure if you can find it on YouTube, but honestly, to those of you watching this after it goes live to general public, if you want to watch the short, go elsewhere. This is just a review and analysis video. But in case you haven't seen this one, you have a fisherman recounting a story that happened 20 years ago involving Charlie the polar bear, and yes, his name's Charlie, we'll get to that. He's actually named at the very end of the short, and Chilly Willy. They're off to this fisherman's boat to get some fish, but are thwarted by this guard dog. And the only way to placate the guard dog is for the polar bear to sing Rockabye Baby, and we get a lot of humorous gags involving that, and of course the punchline at the very end. So much like I do with a lot of the Looney Tunes reviews, I'll go through the show itself, I'll go through the trivia, and yeah, let's have some fun with it, because doing these member review videos serves another purpose. It allows me to go beyond the Looney Tunes universe, look at the other stuff, and keeps things fresh, because as you can imagine, if I'm doing the same studio all the time, it can get repetitive. I mean, I'm having fun with the Looney Tunes review project, but it's good to do something different every once in a while, and this is no different. So trivia-wise, and just to put this short into perspective, I mean, hey, of course you don't need to know all this stuff to enjoy this wonderful short, but hey, this is all about the history of it, so let's go through it. So Tex Avery by this point is at Walter Lantz Studios, so he had a storied career obviously at Warner Brothers, but before that he was actually at Walter Lantz. He actually started his career as an animator, and he even ghost directed a few shorts there too, before going over to Warner Brothers, and the rest is history. And then he got fired from Warner Brothers, he went to MGM, made a whole bunch of shorts. He ended up going on leave because he was, as he said it, burnt out. He eventually went back to MGM, did some more shorts, but they were going to shut down his unit and he left. They wanted to get him back, but it was too late. He was over at Walter Lantz Studio. Now, he only made 4 shorts there, and this is the 3rd of the 4 shorts that were released, but he ended up leaving Walter Lantz Studio due to a perceived issue involving remuneration. So he was under the belief that he was going to get the share of the profits, and he ended up just getting a wage. And I mean, that's how he says it. There's probably more to it. But at the end of the day, he did leave the studio, and he left with him some unfinished cartoons that were finished by Alex Lovey, who would end up later on directing some shorts for Warner Brothers 7 Arts in the late 60s. Now, as for the character's Chilly Willy, this is his 3rd appearance. Now, Tex Avery did not create Chilly Willy, but he, I guess, perfected him. Chilly Willy was in one short directed by Paul Smith. Yes, the Paul Smith who would end up directing all those beautiful Woody Woodpecker shorts in the 60s and 70s, and that could be pretty much used as a torture device if you were needing something to use. But Avery would then direct a short called I'm Cold, and in I'm Cold, he would refine the Chilly Willy character, and Chilly Willy is perhaps the 2nd most popular character the Walter Lantz Studio is known for, or in this case now Universal, because that's who distributes this. Woody Woodpecker, of course, is the most popular, but Chilly Willy is seen as the runner-up in any case. So this is the 2nd and final Chilly Willy short directed by Tex Avery. As I mentioned, Alex Lovey would take over and finish off the shorts that Tex Avery ended up not making. So that puts that into perspective for you. Also, this short was actually nominated for an Academy Award, but it ended up losing to 1955's Speedy Gonzales. There's been some debate as to which cartoon was better. I like both. I think they're both great cartoons. Honestly, it's kind of like deciding between two of my favorite flavors of ice cream, It's really hard to decide. They're both worthy to win, in my opinion, and yeah, Speedy Gonzales just happens to have won it. And this is the only Chilly Willy short nominated for an Academy Award too. But let's take a look at this short from start to finish and go through a few references and everything else. So in terms of vocals for this one, and this information comes from Keith Scott's Wonderful Cartoon Voices book, so you have Tex Avery doing some of the vocal effects, so the yells, yawn, the sneezes, and so on. But the main voice here is done by one person named Dale McKinnon. Now, if that name's not familiar to you, he is perhaps best known for doing the voice of Gumby, and he also did the voice of Buzz Buzzard in the Woody Woodpecker cartoon, so of course he would already be at the Lance studio. He did a lot of other voices. He actually lived to be quite old. He passed away in 2009, and he was born in 1919, so he lived to be 90, so he definitely lived a long life. And looking at the credits there, so you have your regular Walter Lantz animators there, Don Patterson, Ray Abrams, but what's interesting is the story credit by Michael Maltese, although Tex Avery would have most likely had his hand at rewriting a few of the gags and refining things as well. But this was released in 1955. The Warner Brothers studio had a shutdown in late 53 and reopened in 54, so maybe Maltese was just wandering around at this point, so he was doing stuff for Warner's and now he's just done something for Walter Lantz, I'm not sure. But yeah, that name looks familiar. That would be why. And music, Clarence Wheeler. I'm not familiar with his work, but this short is definitely interesting on a musical level, and I'll go through that as we go through the short. So we open up in rather crudely animated fashion, by Avery standards, but we see this fisherman setting everything up. It's not haha funny or anything, but it does what it's supposed to do. But we get right into it where it's like, okay, you're hearing that Rockabye, and get ready for a major use of the Rockabye Baby song. So you're going to hear that quite a bit in this short, so it's definitely a running theme.
Hear that singing out there? It's called The Legend of Rockabye Point.
And then we see the polar bear. Now, something to note about these designs, what was noted by historian and animation restorer Thad Komorowski is that the Walter Lantz shorts that Avery did look closest to the drawings Avery did on the model sheets, and I can definitely agree with that. This one feels the purest Avery, and that isn't to say that other stuff he did at MGM or anything is all of a sudden not good, but there would be other artists taking what Avery did and interpreting it in their own way, so to speak, and here it feels like it's raw Avery drawings, at least the style he was doing at the time, and it's incredible. And again, I really would like to see a restoration of this so we can see further details, but as it stands, it looks pretty good. So we have here, we've set it up, the polar bear, he's hungry, sees a ship, gets a bag, and we see Chilly Willy, who really is more of an antagonist of sorts in this one, but it's still pretty funny. It's such a cute design. Avery seems to always have a knack of designing cute characters who end up being, mischievous bastards, but anyway, so we set it up that the two of them try to get on this ship in the beautifully timed moments of them trying to board, and I mentioned the music before. Listen very carefully to the piano. The score is interesting. It's different to, because I'm doing the Looney Tunes project, what Carl Starling and Mel Franklin were doing. So it's a lot of pianos, and later on you hear the clarinet in a funny gag too. But it's timed so well, and Avery clearly took what he learned over at MGM, all of the years of just refining gags and timing, and he was a perfectionist, so he continued that here. No doubt the budgets would have been lower here compared to MGM, but he made it work. And the poses, and especially with the bear grabbing the bag and throwing it and so on, just so strong. This is Tex Avery at his peak, and it's such a shame that after this one, he made only one more short, and that's it. He just did commercials for the rest of his life and a few animated things here and there for Hanna-Barbera, and he just withdrew, and yeah, it's such a shame. Imagine if there wasn't the dispute with Walter Lantz over the money. Imagine what could have been. At the time, studios were closing down production on shorts anyway, some sooner than others. Warner Brothers lasted long, but Walter Lantz lasted till the 70s, so imagine if Avery just continued making these Chilly Willy cartoons, and even with limited budgets, it would have been very interesting to see. Alright, so the polar bear's on the ship, and he gets inside. We get a big sign saying, "Beware of dog." Okay, so we set it up that the dog, in wonderful posing, bites the polar bear's behind. But there's one particular frame I enjoy, that massive yawn that the dog does. That is just grotesque and yet so beautiful. But you know, the story of this one actually reminds me of one Tex Avery short that involves a dog having to keep quiet because he's going to look after a house while a bear sleeps for the winter, and another dog tries to stuff everything up for him. And the dog's having to run away every time it needs to make a sound, like a sneeze or a burp in one case or whatever. And here, similar thing, he needs to keep quiet to make sure that this dog doesn't wake up, and Chilly Willy pretty much does the same role as the other dog in that other MGM short, where he just screws it all up. Here we just get the added touch of, hey, the only thing that'll get this dog back to sleep is to sing Rockabye Baby. So the polar bear grabs his first bag of fish, and Chilly Willy, in a simple gag, pours some pepper on his nose. So this is where the similarity comes in. So he runs all the way and he sneezes. So he runs back, gets more fish, and boom, the polar bear slips on a roller skate and ends up on the dog. And this is where we start off the running gag involving the Rockabye Baby song, where after desperation, the bear's like, Rockabye Baby, and puts the dog to sleep. And again, the poses of this dog getting to sleep, just absolutely incredible.
Baby on the treetop, as the wind blows, the cradle will rock. When the bow breaks, the cradle will fall, and down will come baby, cradle and all.
Such a wonderful design. Bonkers, yes, but still so charming as well. So yeah, Chilly Willy goes to an extreme where he somehow has dynamite. I'm not sure where he got that from, but nope. The efforts of the polar bear doesn't quite work. The dog wakes up from the exploding dynamite, but the Rockabye Baby works again. So again, we've established this is the only thing that'll get him back to sleep. And Chilly Willy puts another stick of dynamite in the dog's mouth. So what, is he going to try and kill this dog all of a sudden? Ah, boy. So the polar bear tries to escape with the dynamite, but somehow ends up carrying the dog, running out. And it's a play on the gag before where the polar bear, he's running out and he's trying to avoid making a sound. But this time he actually brings the thing that he's trying not to wake up.
Rockabye baby on treetop, but the wind blows, cradle will rock. When the bow breaks, cradle will fall, and down go baby, cradle and all.
So again, he may have revisited one idea, but he does different things here. So the dog wakes up again after a massive explosion, and we get this beautiful butt animation of the polar bear trying to rock the dog to sleep. So the polar bear's then back at it, getting more fish, and he trips over the dog this time, and the dog's just indicating to him, "Excuse me, can you rock me to sleep?" So it's now become routine, isn't it? Absolutely hilarious.
Rockabye baby on treetop, but the wind blows, cradle will rock. When the bow breaks, cradle will fall, and down go baby, cradle and all.
Alright, so Chilly Willy's continuing to be a bit of a prick in this one, so once again the bear tries to get more fish, but Chilly Willy pushes an anvil, and the bear manages to avoid having that hit the dog and hits him on the head instead. And again, in the evolution of the joke, instead of actually running out and screaming, as Avery could have done in this short, no, he just writes out ouch and some profanities. And we get the nice topper where the bear is like, "Nah, gonna get this anvil off my head." But Chilly Willy, again, being an absolute prick in this short, ends up throwing the anvil on the dog and rocks him to sleep.
Rockabye baby on the treetop, as the wind blows, the cradle will rock. When the bow breaks, the cradle will fall, and down go baby, cradle and all.
Now, the next gag, absolutely clever. So there's a clarinet that happens to be lying around, so Chilly Willy puts the clarinet in the dog's mouth, and the polar bear responds by singing the sheet music for Rockabye Baby. Now, why would there be sheet music? I don't know, but you know what? It's there, it's funny, love it. So in a clever gag, this is just incredible. So he ends up, while the dog is breathing into the clarinet, he does the fingering on the clarinet and he does the whole Rockabye baby. And in a nice little topper, Chilly Willy ends up changing the sheet music to Circus March. There we are. A wonderful, lively theme, which is going to give the opposite effect. But again, this is Avery just doing such wonderful things here, and he's subverting expectations. The dog taps him on the shoulder where it's like routine. It's like, okay, now you got to sing Rockabye Baby again. And the bear's like, you know what? Whack. He just knocks him out with the clarinet. So, yeah, we got some nice, wonderful twists and turns in this short. So Chilly Willy wakes up the dog. The dog gets trapped inside the fish vault, but he's so vicious, he even breaks through that solid steel door. Wow, that's some dog, right? So the bear puts him in a barrel, rocks him to sleep again, gets the bag from Chilly Willy. I don't know why he's trusting him all of a sudden, but anyway, he thinks it's full of fish. But no, we get a wonderful payoff where he goes all the way up this iceberg, and no, as we expect, I mean, it is a Tex Avery cartoon after all, the dog's in there, and it ends up being The Legend of Rockabye Point, where for 20 whole years, the bear's just been rocking this dog to sleep, and they both even got beards. I mean, they're already furry anyway. And no, let's not overthink this whole situation. Yeah, it's a funny punchline, and that's how we also know that this polar bear's name is Charlie. So there we are. We end right there with the second and final Chilly Willy short directed by Tex Avery. So I was reading up on this one, and many have called this one Tex Avery's last true masterpiece. See, I don't know whether I'd call this one that, or the final short he did for Walter Lance, SHSHSH, and you know, that's the last short, that's what's called. But regardless, this is an excellent cartoon, and it's not one I'd really seen. I saw I'm Cold, that's a great one, but this one, yeah, this just makes it all the more frustrating to watch in terms of what could have been had there not been that wage dispute causing Avery to leave. But in any case, at least we got 4 wonderful cartoons from the Walter Lance studio done by Tex Avery. You can't change history, it is what it is. So what do I rank this one? Look, I'd give this one even a 9 out of 10. It is perfection. It's just the tippity top of what Tex Avery has learned over his many years, starting at Warner Brothers, well, starting at Lance, of course, then Warner Brothers, then MGM, and now back at Lance. So, yeah, it's a wonderful short, and I hope he gets remastered at some point. But that'll do it for this one. So, yeah, this is a member request video. It'll be for members only for 6 months before going to the public. If you are a member, just write a comment. Just say, hey, can you do such and such? I can't guarantee I'm going to pick yours in a particular month, but look, I'm even open to, at some point, doing reviews on particular episodes of certain animated shows. I'm happy to do that as well. But yeah, let me know what you think of this format, any feedback and whatnot. And of course, to all my YouTube members and Patreons, you know, I appreciate the support, and I really want to try and add something more of value. And part of it is doing a member video like this once a month. But that'll do it for this one. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Till next time, take care.
Sing it to me again, will you, Charlie? All righty. Oh, rock-a-bye, baby.